literally almost beat them. It was a last-second field goal. Hawaii beat Colorado State. What were the other games? New Mexico State and...
Yeah, New Mexico and Wyoming.
Yes, Wyoming. And there weren't very good games, honestly, for most of it. But that's going to change this week.
Thank God.
Thank God. All right. Now that football is here. Let's start talking about the NFC East. You guys ready?
Yeah. Sure. You're not going to lose.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
NFC East, obviously going alphabetical order. Cowboys come first. First question I have, offensive line health. Travis Frederick has an autoimmune disease, and Zach Martin left. But he's come back to practice, so what is their offensive line? Is their offensive line going to be healthy enough for Ezekiel Elliott to comfortably run behind them? I think they could be. I don't know without Travis Frederick how the center position is going to be played out, but I'm not worried about Zach Martin. Can the defense improve on the season they had last year? I know Tony, for whatever reason, thinks that they're the second worst defense in the NFL, but they're clearly not. How will the Cowboys replace Des Bryant? Well, I think it's obvious. Alan Hearns and Michael Gallup are going to take his spot, but Dak Prescott's already got chemistry, it looks like, with both of them. Obviously, Cole Beasley is one of his staples. Big question is tight end. Can Jeff Swaim be the tight end that they want him to be? Obviously, he's not going to replace Jason Witten, but who can? What tight end can replace Jason Witten? Randy Gregory returns from suspension, but should he have been reinstated? And then, will he be an effective pass rusher? What are you guys' thoughts on the Cowboys? Anything I missed? Leave your fan bias out of it and just be honest with yourself.
Me being honest with me? Okay. Your secondary is garbage. Complete trash. In a league, in a division that is going to throw like a motherfucker.
Seriously. That's going to be insane.
It's going to be a problem. Running-wise, Dak Prescott is probably going to be able to take more shots downfield because now having Ezekiel Elliott back will honestly help.
Defenses have to stay home.
Right. They're going to stack the box. You're going to be looking at 8-man stacks at the very minimum, if not sending more people in to try and cut them out at the knees. So that's going to be a huge advantage for you. Whether or not they can fix the minor issues that are happening on the offensive line with people and illnesses and injuries, that's going to need to be addressed because it's one of their largest strengths. Your defense is where I have a concern because if the game does get out of hand against Dallas, I don't know that Dak Prescott can throw you back into it.
Here's my rebuttal to that. If I'm worried about any aspect of the defense, it is only the secondary. Linebacking core is solid. D-line's just fine.
Right.
Secondary is the biggest weakness. Byron Jones is good, but Jeff Heath has shown that he can be a legitimate safety, but he's hit or miss. So I'm not confident in the secondary. I'm extremely confident in the defensive line. I'm pretty confident in the linebackers. The question about can Dak throw you back into a game, I think we've seen a strong decline in the abilities and skills of Des Bryant. He can't run routes anymore. All he can do is catch a slant and take it. He doesn't have the deep catches. He's effectively, gone from, this freak athlete to, a 5'8" slot receiver who's just going to catch and run. So there's no reason for him to be on the team anymore. Alan Hearns, we've seen his entire career that he runs crisp, clean routes. And Michael Gallup has shown that he is on the way to understanding and being able to run those same type of crisp, clean routes. Dak, in the first preseason game against the 49ers, put a beautiful, beautiful pass to Alan Hearn right where it needed to be, like 45 yards down the field. So that shows that he has the capability of doing it. Is he confident enough? That's the question that I'm going to have.
And my question is, when the pressure's on, is he going to be confident enough and poised enough to deliver that pass when it's mattered? Because that could be an issue. We haven't seen it of him, and it's a huge question mark to me. In a division that is going to sling the ball.
Yeah.
With the exception of probably...
the Giants.
No. We'll swing the ball a lot more than the Redskins are going to.
They have Alex Smith. That's all he does.
Josh Dotson is their best wide receiver. Literally the number one on their depth chart. Literally.
It's pathetic.
Exactly. Alex Smith can throw it all over the stadium if he wants, but unless the popcorn guy's going to come down and catch the ball, I don't see how it's going to help him.
Not the popcorn. What's that guy's name? The Dr. Pepper guy.
Oh, Larry?
Larry. Yeah.
Larry is a college football fan. Do not bring him into this.
You're right. He invented the college football playoff.
I know.
Yeah.
It was on a napkin. I've seen it.
But
I believe him.
I think that the Cowboys, if their secondary can be decent, they don't even have to be good. All they have to be is decent. If they can get decent work out of their secondary, like I said, linebackers, defensive line, I'm not worried about. They could be a very dangerous team come the end of the season. On the other hand, if they have a bad defense or a bad secondary, they're probably still an 8-8 team.
And I still have questions about whether Allen Hurns can really be a wide receiver one. I don't know that
He's not going to need to be the wide receiver one.
Then you don't have a wide receiver one.
I think Terrence Williams is going to end up being the wide receiver one.
He's not going to be. He's not talented enough to be a wide receiver one.
I mean, we've had this argument before.
We have, and I've seen nothing that gives me the reason to believe that Terrence Williams is a wide receiver one.
Well, the argument I was going to make is that I don't think you need a true wide receiver one as long as you have very good wide receiver twos.
I mean, I guess you could make that argument, but I see it being a problem.
Okay. I
don't know.
disagree.
Maybe Allen Hurns was being suppressed in Jacksonville.
Blake Bortles is his quarterback.
That's true, but Blake Bortles has made the playoffs.
So has Dak. So has Eli. So has...
Dak's made it on the back of Ezekiel Elliott.
Potentially.
No, guaranteed, because he didn't do it last year.
Oh, Dak, in all fairness, was the offensive rookie of the year in 2016.
Undeservingly so.
Undeservingly so. It should have been Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah,
How, as a
again,
rookie...
It's the hate that the NFL somehow prematurely had for that Wookiee-looking motherfucker.
How can a rookie be literally in the top 4 in MVP voting and not get Rookie of the Year?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
None of this makes sense to me, but I've given up trying to make sense of the NFL.
Anyways, let's move on because we got other teams in the NFC East to talk about. The Eagles. Carson Wentz. Will he be ready for the season opener? Doesn't look like he's going to be. The other quarterback question is Nick Foles. A lot has been made, whether rightfully or not. A lot has been made about how he hasn't scored at all in the preseason. So, yeah, it's only preseason, but still, you want to see your starting team do well enough, and you really haven't. But, again, preseason, really, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could care less about preseason, to be honest with you.
And then the only other questions, really, that I have about the Eagles, they're almost a complete team. Can their defense stay at that Super Bowl quality that it was last year? Because defense usually holds together well. Are we going to see them regress, or are we going to see them stay where they were?
I don't know. I have a feeling, personally, that the Eagles' stats on defense were inflated. You played against no real talent other than Kirk Cousins on Washington. You played against a Dallas team that wasn't fully functional and didn't have Ezekiel Elliott,
Yeah,
and you
for
had
one of
a
those games,
Giants
yeah.
team that had no running game, no offensive line, and their starting wide receivers were out. So, yeah, when 6 of your games are against teams that are either crippled or just don't have anybody, it's probably pretty easy to become a top-tier defense when your division is literally the land of misfit toys.
Well, let's be fair. Washington, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback.
He was a good quarterback, but he wasn't throwing to anybody.
Right.
There wasn't really a running game there.
The Cowboys were a field goal away from being playoff team, losing to the Seahawks. They were one game out. Seahawks got whoever won that game was going to go to the playoffs. So the Cowboys were a playoff team. If that 3-point swing changed things, they played against Tom Brady and they looked pretty decent.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, any team in one game can be great, but on either side of the ball. But I just don't know if their defense was as good as we thought they were.
Do you think they're overrated?
I think that their stats were inflated. I think they're good, but I don't think they're as good as they were or they're going to be on paper as good as they were last year, just because the talent that they're going to have to deal with in the NFC East is
insane,
far and away better than what they were dealing with last year.
Yeah, well, their secondary is definitely going to get tested, regardless of what you think about the Redskins wide receivers.
I mean, the other thing is, if you look at them as a complete team, they really don't have a lot of holes on offense. Alshon Jeffrey is a solid wide receiver. He's going to be out the first 2 games, but he is a clear leading wide receiver that will demand double teams. He's a big target in the end zone. Ajayi obviously had a problem in Miami, but he's not a problem when you give him the ball.
Well, he didn't have a problem in Miami. Just everyone else around him was a problem.
Well, he had a problem with everybody else around him, apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, we saw last year what Jay Ajayi really could be. He's going to be...
You go even further, Ertz is a top 5 tight end, if not top 3, arguably, coming out. And, I mean, he might need to get some more help wide receiver-wise because he's got dead weight on the other side.
But Nelson Aguilar played well for him last year.
Trash.
I know you think he's trash.
Garbage.
But this is being completely objective, not subjective. Nelson Aguilar had a good season with Nick Foles.
Trash. Cement feet, frying pan hands,
All right.
vision of a horse with blinders on.
Vision of a horse with blinders on. Okay.
All he had to do was catch one ball. That's it. It's all he had to do. And I would have been like, okay, man, thank you for coming up big. But I know that he's not going to do that.
You watch this year, he's going to light it up.
I hope he breaks his leg.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, you're
I didn't
getting...
say die. I just need him to Tom Brady himself.
Wow.
Dead to me.
Dead to me. All right.
If the Giants ever get him, I will buy a jersey to burn it. That's how much I hate that man.
Who was that running back that the Eagles utilized heavily in the Super Bowl last year?
Corey
Can't sleep on
Clement?
him either.
Corey Clement?
I think that might be it.
Because they had him and LeGarrette Blount last year.
And Ajayi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he
Darren
came in
Sproles.
huge. You know, he had 2 big plays in the Super Bowl, so I'd expect to see a little bit more of him when it comes to passing.
Yeah, he had that touchdown that probably shouldn't have been called a touchdown in the end zone.
I mean, he's definitely a passing back. I mean, Ajayi should be the number 1 lead there, but they've got a lot of talent on their offense. And I mean, like, talk about being spoiled with Wentz and
Nick Foles.
I mean, woe is you.
Well, Nick Foles is going to be on another team at some point this year.
So will probably Teddy Bridgewater.
I think the Dolphins should pick up Teddy Bridgewater now because they're not going to get him for less of a value than they will at this point. It's a good point.
I mean, so they have an insane amount of talent. I think the Eagles are still going to be good this year, and they're going to be, obviously, they should be the front runners in the NFC East.
We'll get to that.
You and I are going to have very differing opinions.
We'll get to that.